Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Cheenie, and welcome to part 2 of my NMAT experience video. And this part of the video will be where I talk about my actual NMAT experience. So if you haven't watched part 1, which was the video where I talked about how I studied for NMAT, then you can watch it. Right now, I'm gonna put a card somewhere here, so just look for it at the top of the screen. So yeah, let me just try to get this coffee open first. Hold on. Okay, so I took my test October 15 or 16, and I took the morning exam since you have an option to take either the morning 7 to 11 exam or the afternoon 1 to 5 exam. I chose to take the morning because ayoko na iniisip ko na siya sa umaga, and then just to make myself more anxious, might even find myself studying before the exam. And gusto ko parang over with as soon as possible, which is why I chose the morning schedule. So choose a schedule that works for you, that works for your body clock, and works for your brain. Choose a time that you think your brain will really work at its best. Okay, so I woke up around 5:30 or 5 o'clock, I don't remember. You can just watch my other vlog of how that week went. And then I got my setup ready. Something that I did throughout the week of the exam is I tried the software every day, because sometimes nagloloko yung software, and you know, in case you need to find a backup laptop, go find the backup laptop already like a week before your exam, so that in case parang something goes wrong, or hopefully of course wala naman, you have a working laptop again. So that's what I did. Since I tested the laptop throughout the week and it worked naman, although sometimes it worked much slower than other days, it still worked in the end, so I didn't have to find a backup laptop. And make sure you have a mouse. Really helps to have a mouse. You don't need a keyboard because you won't be typing you'll only be typing information at the start of the exam, like your student number, your full name, and the like, whatever information they ask for. You should also prepare your valid ID, usually school ID, because you will have to take a snapshot of it during the exam. Like before you take the exam, you have to take a picture of your face on the webcam, and then you have to take a picture with the ID. And then for the time allotments, you have a 2-hour part 1, I think it was 2 hours, then a 10-minute break, and then a 1.5-hour part 2, and then a 10-minute break, and then it's the end of the exam. So it's around 4 hours total, or maybe it was 2.5 hours for the first part, but it's something like that generally. You basically have more time for part 1 than you do part 2, but each subsection of each part is 30 items. My phone died, so I'm transferring on my phone. Anyway, I was saying, each subsection is 30 items. So you have 120 items total in part 2, and then I think in part 1 it's also 120 items because it's verbal, inductive, perceptual, and quanti. Yeah, so 120. So total of 240 items in the whole exam. What else? For preparations, it's really helpful to follow the deck study guides, preparation, like reminders, because I really followed that lang and I got everything I needed. And then make sure to disable the updates of your laptop, especially because Windows tends to update at random times. So turn it off so that it's sure na you don't get updates during the exam or before the exam, because that's gonna take so long. Also, it's better to enter at the earliest time possible, because you will wait in the line like, there's like a, may pila kasi yun to get a proctor, ganon. And I entered at 6:30, which is the opening time for like queuing and stuff, or ano ba yun? Basta after lining up. And by that time, there were already like 50 people in line. So, it won't really affect naman the time you have to take your actual exam, since the time of the actual exam will only start when you see the first question. So, pero you know, it's better to be early than to be late, because at least if something goes wrong, then you have time to like prepare and fix the problem. Ayun. Okay. Now, moving on to the actual exam. Actually, I have a list of what I thought about it. So, hold on. Okay, I got my laptop so that I have my list. I tried to remember as much as I could about what I saw in my exam. But of course, I won't tell you the exact questions, nor the exact like topics that they said. But I'll just give like a general overview of my thoughts per section. So, okay, I have a note here. It says, time is the enemy. As in, time is really your enemy. Di mo mapapansin saan pupunta yung oras. As in, you get stuck in one question. You think you're there for what? A minute? But you've already been there for 3. Wow, 3 minutes, not that much. It's so much. You know why? Because you need to spend your time on other things that are actually like solvable, and you won't know if it's solvable if you don't move on to the next question. So, a tip before I start actually saying anything, because it will apply to all parts of the NMAT. If you don't know a question, don't skip it. Choose an answer already, what you think is your best answer, kahit nag-guess pa yan and you didn't actually solve for it, let's say, or you don't think it's the actual answer, but click an answer. Malay mo, you have a 25% chance that it's actually correct. So, just take that chance and move on so that you can actually answer questions that you actually know. So, yeah, ayun. Something that I told myself to do, but then, when the test day mismo came, I was like, I know it, and I pinipilit ko lang, parang I know how to answer it. But then, in the end, in part 1, I lost so much time, especially looking for figures and let's say in quantity, trying to solve a simple math problem, that in the end, parang I wasn't able to answer one question. And it was identical information. You know why? Identical information takes so long. So long. As in, nakagigil. Magduduling ka talaga. As in, my eyes hurt so much. My eyes wanted to tear up na talaga. Because it was so hard. And you know the only difference? One letter. One number. A comma. A period. Yun lang. Oh my goodness. Okay, anyway, it's over. Can't do anything about it. Anyway, okay, let's go. So, for verbal, first of all, the analogies were okay. Meaning, the analogies were like, not super big words, and you can derive it medyo from the example that's first given. So, for example, table, chair. So, desk. Yeah, ayun. Stuff like that. In UPLINK kasi, the words are so hard. As in, dun ko na-realize na hindi malaki yung vocabulary ko. And hindi ako magaling mag-English. Anyway. So, ayun, the analogies were okay. Kaya naman siya. So, in the parts in verbal na may passages, read the question first and check the choices first, because for some questions, you don't actually need to read the whole passage because it's only asking for a certain paragraph, or let's say it's asking for a certain word in a certain paragraph. And then, if it's asking for the overall theme, then you don't need to like super read it in detail, but then skim over it na lang and then choose what you think is the best fit, let's say for the main theme of the story or the passage. Okay, since you can't trace with your fingers on your screen, like you can't touch your screen and go like this when you're reading, trace using the cursor on your laptop. Like you can, on the mouse pad or the trackpad, you can read the question using the cursor. Yeah. And it's good to do that. Personally, I found it helpful because I need to read my questions out loud usually, but since you're not allowed to read aloud during NMAT, basically you're not allowed to talk during NMAT, it's better to just use the cursor to read. Ayun. The reason, before the whole NMAT like starts also pala, you should read the COAG, which is given in your accounts in CEM, because it will tell you the things that you can and cannot do. Like ayun, reading out loud, you can look around, can talk to anyone, ganon. Because there are things that you can't do and it might be considered cheating. So ayun. Okay. Moving on. So Quanti, there are questions about area and perimeter, the Pythagorean knowing the Pythagorean triples will really help you, especially in if you can simplify like a question that uses the Pythagorean triples, or basically the Pythagorean theory. Basta yun. It will help since it will make the numbers smaller. And once you know it, you'll be able to find out kaagad what the missing side is. And yeah. For area and perimeter, basically just memorize the different area and perimeters of the different basic shapes and all. Because it will all come out in application. So given word problem, you will be given a word problem, you'll have to utilize area and your knowledge on area and perimeter to solve for the missing value. Okay. And then there are some items, these items I hate, that are very exact numbers. So yung difference niya lang is like by 0.1 or 2 or 1, ganon. So you can't round off, because the trick daw usually is always to round off your numbers to the nearest tenths, so that the answer, you just have to look for the closest one. If the choices are like magkakalayo, if it's like 1, 100, 1, 10, 100, 1,000, if your choices are like that. But then there are some talaga that are really near each other, like the difference is only like around 1, 2 or 0.5, ganon. So numbers like that, you really have no choice but not to round off and really solve them exactly as they are. Okay? And then it helps to know the factored form and the simplified form of like the perfect square trinomial, difference of two squares. So, and also the one that's like raised to 4, because a trinomial it's only raised to 3, right? And then the difference of two squares, it's like 2 terms, ganon. So it helps to know that, not 2 terms, but like you'll get that if you're studying it. It helps to know those, and it helps to know how to do factoring talaga, because believe it or not, there will be factoring numbers that come out, and it may seem simple, but it's not. But if you know how to do this and you know the simplified forms, then it's easier to cancel, to factor out, and to find the actual answer. And again, a general tip for everything, look at your choices. Your choices will really help you. And if you know na parang this is kinda impossible, this won't be the answer, then you can exit out kaagad and have more chances of getting a right answer. Okay, sorry, again, I'm apologizing in the middle of the video that if my thoughts are like all over the place, and I'm so sorry. I hope you still understand and you find this helpful. Okay. Next is for inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is the part where you have number series, letter series. What helps is on your whiteboard, you write the whole alphabet and the corresponding numbers. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and so on and so forth. And then when you get to the letter series, it will really help you, because you'll see that sometimes the pattern can be applied to the numbers, and it's easier to find it that way rather than finding it na parang, is it A, B, and then F, ganon? Is it like skip 2 letters? Then you can just base it on the numbers, and it's easier, so much easier that way. You use less time. I really swear by that. Okay, moving on. So perceptual. In hidden figures, yung iba hidden talaga, ikot-ikot. It's really self-explanatory. Hidden figures, they're very hidden. And the thing with hidden figures is that it's not shown to you exactly as it is in the figure itself. But minsan, iniikot siya, flip. But then always remember that in hidden figures, you're not allowed to choose the mirror image. So if something is like this, you can choose it if it's shown like this, exactly as it is. You can choose it if it's shown as like this or like this. But you cannot choose it if it's shown as like this. If that makes sense. So, just a reminder. Okay? Mirror images cancel out agad the ones that have opposite. I don't really know what I'm trying to say here. But mirror images was actually very hard because the choices that you're given, parang wala kang makikitang difference. As in, the slightest difference in the size of like the circle. Let's say if this is the circle, it's like this much bigger. And then let's say a curve. So just be very attentive and look at it side by side. Imagine you put a mirror in the middle, and then if you see a certain part of the image that's already not magkatugma, or let's say like this and this are not magkatugma, then exit out na as a choice, because that's automatically not the answer. Obviously, because it's not a mirror image. Dami kong galit dito. Kaloka, identical information. Nagduling ako, so time consuming. It really is. I really have no other words to explain identical information except that it's time consuming, but it's the most for sure correct answer for points that you'll get. Since it's just identical information, you just have to match and find the ones that's exactly as the given. It's like for sure points once you find it, but it really eats up so much of your time. So just a little reminder for that. Yun yung inuna ko in the part 1. Yeah. Moving on to part 2. In your 10-minute break, you cannot use your phone. You cannot talk to people. You can go to the bathroom, drink some water, stretch, but that's it. You still have to be seen sa proctor. Yung mga proctor pala, you don't see them. They can only see you and hear you. And the only way you can talk to them is through the chat box, which is on the lower right of your screen. And it will pop up every time they have something to tell you. You won't be able to hear them as well. It's like, they'll really message you lang, pero they can see you and hear you. So, ayun. It's better also not to have your phone, because if your phone rings or you get a text message, it can be considered cheating if I'm not mistaken. So I really put my phone in another room and I locked it there para lang walang marinig and stuff. And so only 10 minutes, so you decide what you want to do with it, and then proceed to part 2, biology. Depending on your set or on the day that you take your exam, you can have more plant biology or more human biology. In my case, I had more human biology. So although there were items that came out about plants, like hierarchy and the usual things you study, there are still some surprising things about plants that I didn't know and I wasn't able to study. So I don't really remember what it is, pero study what you can for plant bio basically. And then I had things related to DNA and RNA, and you really have to understand the topics. It's not only memorization. Of course, memorization will surely help. But then, a lot of the questions kasi are in application of the concepts and the topics. So, you have to understand how it works. So, let's say, in transcription and translation, is it an RNA polymerase? Is it a DNA polymerase? What is happening exactly in transcription and translation? Is it the copying of the DNA? Do you only use a short segment of like an RNA, or do you use the whole segment? Stuff like that. And I also had pedigree. Pedigree is basically, how to explain? I'll just put a picture. This is basically what a pedigree looks like, and it explains like autosomal recessive or dominant or X-linked diseases that are passed down to offspring depending on the parents, and then depending on how the pedigree looks like, you can tell if it's autosomal recessive, dominant, X-linked, or whatnot. Yun, that's what I got for bio. But in general, study all the systems, know your hormones, what gland produces them, what its job is, know the ins and outs if you get like, so that you don't get confused. So let's say in your, what gland produces oxytocin, what type of cell produces insulin, or what type of cell produces glucagon, which is the hormone that controls calcium absorption into the bones, stuff like that. Although those are very knowledge-based questions, imagine that type of question but put it in application. So given a scenario, a patient came in with low blood sugar and blah 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 blah, what is the hormone or what is the gland responsible for releasing a hormone that has this effect? Ganon. It's really, they're just playing with the concepts. Okay, next is physics. Personally, in my set, in my test, not a lot of linear motion questions appeared. I had a lot of questions that had projectile concepts into it. Let's say, this is not an actual question, but just like making an example at the top of my head. Person A threw a ball from a height, and what was its velocity on the way down? Or parang, what was its velocity at the peak? A lot of questions that had to do with force came out. So there are different types of force, and force is part of a lot of other concepts aside from force itself. So let's say gravity is force, normal force, perpendicular, force from a pulley, ganon. Basta know the ins and outs even of your formulas, especially in physics, because you can use different formulas in different like circumstances. As in, blew my mind in review when I'm like, what? This is not the formula for that though, but then it's still got the answer. So it's really good. Okay, moving on to chem. Chem, a lot of questions. I had questions about polarity, solubility, different forces of attraction, and then the alpha, beta, gamma decay. Why am I counting like this? Then you should also know, even though it's like super basic information that's taught to us at like the start of chemistry, yung mga models of an atom, yung mga planetary, yun, parang yung raisin bread ba yun, or bread pudding model, ganon. And then basic chemical reactions, and then common structures. By common structures, I mean like mga sugars, or like amino acids, or whatnot. Kasi minsan, naglalabas sila ng picture of the structure and asking, what is this? Ganon. So, it helps to know at least may like yung mga common structures, alam mo. It helps. Super. Wait. See, I was so right separating this into 2 videos because I talk so much without even knowing it. Okay, for the last section, social science, application of social theories given situations, the theory of love, application of what's it called? How to resolve conflicts. There's different types of conflict resolution kasi. And then social circles and the types or the branches of psychology. So all of this, surprisingly kasi hindi siya finocus on review. But then a lot of questions came out about these things. For others, for some of my friends who took their exam, they said a lot of names came out for them. Like, given this situation, who is the person who made this theory, or whose theory follows this, can be applied to this example, ganon. So let's say it's like the given was like something about functionalism. So, since it's functionalism, sino yung gumawa ng functionalism? So, build your time, ganun. Stuff like that. That's the application of the social theories that I'm talking about. But, there are so many social theories that it's not only about like meron cognitive, diba? There's like cognitive theories, then there's yung social theories mismo, like yung mga kay Karl Marx and stuff like that. I know it if you ask it to me, but then I'm trying to explain it right now. I can't explain it very well. I'm so sorry about that. But I hope you understand what I mean. And then yung branches of psych, this one you can find on Lumen Learning, if I'm not mistaken. So Lumen Learning is another place that can be used as a source for information, especially in terms of social science. They have a lot of stuff also. Good for review. That's all I remember about it, about the test itself. But other things that I remember from the NMAT exam is right after I feel like I didn't do well. I really feel like I didn't do well, but if my friends are like, it's okay, for sure you did well, you're just thinking about it too much. Pero let's just put it in terms that I feel like I could have done better had I reviewed more concepts, had I known that this was coming out. Pero syempre, I could never know that, diba? Because this is my first time to take NMAT. But all in all, I'm proud of myself. Even though I do have regrets, I'm proud of myself for how hard I studied and the effort I put in, because I know I did my best, I tried my best, and that's the only thing that's important. If I'm not happy with my score, which I hope I'm not, and I am considering taking NMAT again. So let's just hope for the best when results come out. Hey guys, this is me post-editing. I'm editing right now. Anyway, it is November 17 and the results for NMAT just came out. So, just a while ago, I was already getting messages if I was gonna share my score with you guys. So, here it is. I'm happy with my score and I'm super thankful for it. So, I don't know. I'm still thinking about it if I'm gonna repeat NMAT or not. But if not, then I'm super thankful already for this score. So, just wanted to let you guys know. Okay, let's end this video. So, yeah. Again, I just want to say a big thanks to Dex Study Guides for being in my journey through NMAT. And I hope that you guys can check out their material too, because swear, like, top tier material. So, I think that's it. If I remember anything else, then I will put it in the comment section below. I will comment it, whatever I remember. And if you have any questions for me, then leave it in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. And click the notification bell so you get notified when I have a new video. Never forget, there's nothing to it, but do it. See you guys in my next video. Bye!